Okay, welcome to the Silicon Valley Health Institute, formerly known as Smart Life Forum. If everybody could please take seats, we'd appreciate it. So I'm Robert Minkemeller. I've been a nutritionist since '92 and have been studying natural health for 25 years, and I'm also a member of your board of directors here. I've been attending Smart Life Forum and Silicon Valley Health Institute for about 15 years myself. So I loved it so much I joined the board about a year ago. Any first-time visitors? Great. Welcome. We hope to see you back again and look forward to hearing your feedback. We're a membership-driven organization, so our membership is $60 a year, which works out to $5 a meeting there. We're a 503 nonprofit, so yeah, 501c3 PO. There you go. So at this time, if you could silence your cell phones, we'd appreciate it. If you're concerned about EMFs, you can turn your cell phones off. If you need to make an emergency call, please step outside the door there, just so we can keep the meeting focused. The meeting is streaming online live, so welcome to everybody out there who's watching our event, and we appreciate you being here. The restrooms at break, we'll have a break about 9 o'clock-ish, 10 to 9, somewhere around there. The restrooms are all the way down the hall. To take a left and about 100 yards down on the right, you'll see the restrooms down there. So Silicon Valley Health Institute has lost a dear friend and board member, Laurel Cochran. She was the friendly face that greeted you at the door and with a smile kindly reminded you when your dues were due for renewal. She was behind the scenes and helped with the board of directors for years and helped guide SVHI in its mission. So she will be very much missed. John, would you like to say a few things?
I'd like to say she really enjoyed being treasurer and membership chairman. And these last 2 years, she was incapacitated for various reasons. And most recently, there's a severe bacterial infection in her intestine called C. diff, C-D-E-F. And I had no idea how dangerous it was. At any rate, that's what did her in.
We're very appreciative and very sorry for your loss, John. Thanks. Okay, does anybody have any announcements they'd like to make?
Hi, my name is Bill Hurya, and I volunteered to take over the refreshments. So if you have any comments one way or the other, please let me know, except for you.
Try the strawberries dipped in the avocado. It's weird, but you'll like it.
Okay. 1 second. So if you have any questions or anything you want to ask or say, make sure you wait for the microphone because the people at home will want to hear what you have to say there. So be patient and let me get to you with the microphone.
I brought some fragrant roses, so some people like to take those home. That's great. Thanks.
They look beautiful.
I bought a bunch of books about 4 or 5 years ago, and I had some left over from talks that I was giving and stuff. So I thought, okay, I'll put them up here, and I'm going to sell them for $2 a piece, and all the money goes to Smart Life Forum. Well, I still call it Smart Life Forum, but whatever you call it, it's going to the organization. So check it out.
Do you want to mention what the books are? Do you want to mention a little bit about what the books are?
Well, the one book is called Heart Fraud, and it has to do with things like statins and the myth of cholesterol, stuff like that. It's very well done. The other book is by one of these brilliant eccentric guys by the name, I think his first name is Harold, his last name is Foster, and about AIDS. And he argues that, it is Harold Foster, thank you. And the name of the book is What Really Causes AIDS. And he argues that given information we have from the case of China, that there's a very close connection between selenium deficiency and AIDS, which you think, well, how could that be that important? But anyway, read the book and find out.
Thanks for your donation, Phil. And at any time during the break, come on up and grab a copy of a book. All right, so the first part of our forum starts with questions from the audience. We have several experts here that can give us answers to your questions. So does anybody want to start? Anybody have any questions?
Oh, you did. No, it's not really a question, but I was looking into the selenium claim, not only for HIV infection, but for other kinds of viral diseases, and found some literature on the role of selenium deficiency in Ebola infections and other hemorrhagic fevers. That turns out that the Ebola genome has various codons that code for selenomethionine and selenocysteine. Can't remember which one of them is selenocysteine, I think, isn't it? That's the one that's coded. And so basically what the virus does in terms of making proteins is to completely deplete the organic selenium reserves of the host, and they theorize is the basis of the hemorrhagic effects. And all the hemorrhagic fevers have this selenium encoding stuff built into its genome. What's a codon? It's the piece of DNA that specifies a particular amino acid. And so there's a code that says use this to make selenomethionine or to encode selenocysteine. And so when you do these repeats, I think there's 8 of them, that you get 8 selenium atoms that disappear every time that protein is made. Yeah, take selenium to prevent the hemorrhagic consequences.
I've been trying boron. Who here has tried taking boron supplements? Is that 3 people? What? I don't get it. So, have you taken very much boron? Like a milligram and a half? Yeah. So you don't feel it? Anybody else has taken it? It's supposed to be good for all kinds of stuff like osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, brain, prostate, you name it, and bone strength and hardness, osteoporosis. It's supposed to be good for also, but if you take a large-ish dose to try to get rid of the osteoporosis within a few months, a lot of people get a really nasty reaction for a while until it kills off whatever it's killing off.
Steve, if you take selenium, wouldn't that help promote the protein growth?
No, because the protein isn't functional. It doesn't do anything. So the protein expression is just to deplete the selenium reserves of the host. So it doesn't serve any pro-viral function, other than the fact that if you deplete somebody of selenium, they become more susceptible to viruses, and the viruses become more virulent. And so the largest region of the world that's the biggest selenium deficiency is in China, and that's where they have, it's the most populated area with people and with animals, and that's where all of the really nasty viruses come out, and where the viruses cross from animals into humans and vice versa, and they all come out of China, and so they're selenium deficient. So the induction of a selenium deficiency is, an interesting viral strategy, And if you take selenium, you just prevent your body from becoming depleted. It doesn't affect the virus at all. Or at least all it does is reduce its virulence.
Hi. I have a question about the radiation from Japan. I just went to Japan to find out about the situation of Fukushima. But even in Japanese, it was very, very difficult to get the right information. It's totally separate. You know, it's safe. It's nothing happened, and it's totally like deadly. You know, dangerous for the whole world or something. So, is there anybody know about Fukushima's radiation situation outside of Japan? Somebody knows about anything?
The only thing I've heard is that the levels are higher than what they're reporting, but you know, how do we measure? You know, that's the difficult part of the equation. You know, keep your iodine levels at good, you know, good levels there, but
Bruce Ames says that the amount of radiation that's reaching the west coast of the United States is nothing compared to the genetic damage you get from mineral deficiencies and vitamin deficiencies.
I can add to that. It's not the radiation, though, that's dangerous. It's the fact that you have radionuclides that are radioactive versions of elements that you use in your body. So radioactive iodine gets concentrated in the thyroid gland, and then the dose that's delivered to your tissues is many times higher than the ambient radiation in your environment. So it's really true, the amount of radiation is small, but it can become very concentrated and have biological effects that are way beyond what the level of radiation is. I mean, even Mount St. Helens, you remember when that blew? That was like, you know, higher radiation than uranium mine tailings. So when you have a uranium mine and they're digging it out of the ground and then they throw away the stuff that they don't collect, that stuff was less radioactive than Mount St. Helens. So, you know, background radiation can be very high, and we generally tolerate it quite well. But if it's radioactive iodine or radioactive cesium or radioactive strontium, that's a potential problem because your body's concentrating it.
any protection strategies?
Yeah, as you said, take iodine. So you take non-radioactive iodine to dilute out any radioactivity in your iodine. Or if you take, you know, strontium supplements that are non-radioactive, that prevents the radioactive strontium from being absorbed.
Those only 2 minerals to worry about?
No, there's a lot of them. But cesium, strontium, iodine are high on the list. If anybody else knows more, they can add to it.
Well, I think we're kind of in agreement here. Everybody's worried about the radioactive fallout and the cloud that comes from Japan over to the United States over months and years. The real worry is the fallout of radioactivity around the plant gets into the grass, cows eat the grass, and it gets into the food supply. This is what we found out from Chernobyl. From Chernobyl, it wasn't so much the cloud that extended to Finland as much as it gets into the food supply by the fallout that gets into the grass, the cows eat the grass, and eventually gets into our food supply. And that's where I think it gets concentrated. So it's not the fallout so much as it's the way it gets into the food system and then concentrates into your thyroid. So Steve and I are in agreement that the ultimate target organ is the thyroid. And some of the real interesting experts have gone over, and that's what they do. They go to Chernobyl and they treat nothing but thyroid cancer. But again, you have to realize it's not the cloud, it's the food supply is the dangerous part.
I was just going to say our son, unfortunately, was in Japan during Fukushima. He was living there. And what they did, it turns out they've had so many leaks that there's a network on the computer of just ordinary people who are monitoring air, monitoring water. And so if you can find the links, that's what he did. They went south until the numbers came down, et cetera. But it's interesting what the net is letting us do in terms of information when maybe the government isn't supplying it.
Does anybody else have any more questions, thoughts, ideas?
For people interested in the topic of Lyme disease, we do have an expert here. She just spoke.
Yeah, that's Dr. Green, and she'll be speaking a little bit later there. Any other questions?
Remedy for sleep apnea.
That's a good one. Anybody have any ideas on that? Yeah, it's not just a one pill solves all type of situation.
There may be structural reasons for it. So sometimes, it's something in your mouth. Sometimes, in little people, the larynx collapses when you lay back, and sometimes you're stuck with surgery at that point. But it's sometimes, something that'll shrink the membranes will work. Sometimes a tape across your nose works. But the structure has to be evaluated, and they're pretty good at that. I don't know, but I bet some people do know. And I bet there is some exercise that could be done, maybe through Qigong or something. Yeah.
Question. Did anybody make a transcript of Dr. Shade's talk last month?
We're looking at doing transcription, so, okay. If you want to share it with us, yeah, okay. we're working on transcription moving forward here, so. Anybody else have any other questions, thoughts, ideas? So we are waiting on a cable. And Dr. Green, are you ready to speak? Okay. Is that okay? Okay. Okay, so if we can switch.